He was wondering silently as to what translated to an emergency for Day-Day. Knowing Day-Day, it had to be something especially serious, especially when it involved him, quote-unquote, bleeding pretty bad. "Fuck," said Wayne as the egg timer attached to one of the straps of his overalls went off. He looked down at it, reset the timer, and worriedly strode back into the lab to begin the next step. Approximately 1 hour and 30 minutes later, Day-Day was brought back to Wayne's farm and clandestine laboratory meth distribution center, driven by Stevie in a rusting box truck full of wooden pallets that weren't secured properly. Through the whole ride, one could hear those pallets shifting back and forth, crashing into each other. That being said, Stevie wasn't really one of the most delicate of drivers either, which is a slight problem for Day-Day, as he had just had his ear and the crown of his scalp hastily sewn back together by what ultimately was a shady back alley doctor. "Oh, holy balls, Day-Day!" exclaimed Stevie, his eyes turned away from the darkened, twisting, turning country road. He switched on one of the interior lights to get a better look at what was before him. Stevie quickly recognized Day-Day's awful physical state and did a muted double take. "Oh, you look like shit!" "You fucking Mike had to shave the back of my fucking head to sew it up. I look like an asshole," Day-Day said as he rotated his neck slightly to display the unsightly results of his encounter with young Master Pete Scarborough. Yes, most of the back of his head was now shaved and kind of stupid looking. The right side of his face between his jawline and eyebrow had a deep rusty abrasion, where the distinctive imprint of a chain fence was left, and that was covered in a layer of thick antibacterial gel, which in the light shone with opaque, semi-translucent slickness. Day's bandage that also looped around the circumference of his head. Day's ear wasn't looking too hot either, but that was thankfully covered in a heavy gauze bandage. It was also looped around the circumference of his head and concealed what was undoubtedly a surgical masterpiece seeping through the copper, leaving a small bloodstain on the passenger seat headrest behind it. "Now you should see the other guy," said Stevie in a comical falsetto, more falsetto than usual, crudely recreating what he imagined Day-Day was going to sound like when he inevitably said the obvious line. Day-Day thought briefly of crudely recreating Steve's head against the dashboard, but ignored his original impulse out of basic civility. Any other time, though, would have been pow. "Shut the fuck up," said Day-Day. "My head hurts enough as it is." They silently traveled through the hills and arrived at Wayne's estate in an indeterminate period of time. Day wasn't exactly paying attention, and neither was Stevie. They drove around to the storehouse where during the growing season many beans were packed away for shipment to different farmers markets and other grocery establishments. In the dark it looked quite haunted, bare, forlorn. Stevie parked behind the sandy-colored concrete block building and killed the engine. Day-Day exited the vehicle, clutching his tender head wound with one hand. Stevie did not stir, nor did he make any attempt to follow. He merely sat there somewhat anxiously. Day-Day picked up on that right away. "Hey bro, you coming with?" he sheepishly asked. Stevie vigorously shook his head in the negative and said, "Are you kidding? Wayne's gonna tear you a new asshole. I don't want to be around for that shit." He felt around for his bag of tobacco and proceeded to begin constructing a rollie across the breadth of the steering wheel. "When you're right, Stevie." Yeah, I'll be here if anyone needs me." Day turned away from Stevie and proceeded to walk along the winding path that wound around the building, and then turned into a straightaway that cut through one of the more prominent bean fields. A makeshift scarecrow constructed of 2 broken shovel handles, a yellow hooded rain slicker, and a used respirator lay fallen distantly to the wounded soldier's left as he trod through the sodden ground, stepping in covertly concealed puddles. As Day's foot became stuck in the mire, his eye caught sight of a murder of crows in the surrounding treetops, and a feeling of intense dread overcame his being. "Fuck off, you cunts!" He yelled at them, causing their immediate and abrupt dispersal. Huge black feathers were left upon their departure. They floated softly to the earth in a spiraling pattern that reminded Day of old rancid dishwater circling round the drain. Nagging thoughts tormented Day's brain, revealing their nature as a rolling, tempestuous thunderhead that built in intensity until it threatened Day's sanity. It was a challenging of one's mental stability, rather different than those presented in other sections of this novel. It was absolutely because Day was one of the few sober people in this book. The paranoia he felt was a whole different ballgame there, let me tell ya. Goddamn crows. It was mostly silent outside. There would have been crickets, some sort of sign of life, giant scowling blackbirds notwithstanding. But a recent frost had wiped out the majority of creepy crawling things. A faint humming of machinery emanated from Wayne's garage, but the loudest noise of all was the slucking of Day's black timberlings as they pulled free from the mud. Then, panic. Day was not exactly sure where it came from. Granted, he was already feeling none too great about what he was about to relay to Wayne, something that had to be done. But what was going to happen once that was finished? Shit. I should run the fuck out of here, he thought miserably. Then again, why would he have sent me to get medical treatment if he was just going to kill me? Good point. Thanks, said the logical side of Day's brain. Still though, I think I'm going to hightail it. Day turned to run through the fields to flee into the surrounding hills and forests. Maybe go to China, some bumfuck village someone and no one in their right mind would ever want to go to. Hey, asshole, yelled a voice that Day recognized immediately. Shit. Where do you think you're going? And where was it coming from? From behind, to the left. It was coming from the tree line. It came from one rather large evergreen with its ethereal reaching branches drooping low from the rain. One man was up in the tree, perched in a deer stand 25 feet from the ground. That man, Dusty, was hanging there camouflaged in a ghillie suit with a hunting rifle aimed square at Day's skull and cranial contents encapsulated within. Hey, what the hell are you doing up there, Dusty? Making sure you make it to where you're supposed to. Not getting any funny ideas in that head of yours. Fuck. This was not going to end well either way. Dusty deftly climbed down the deer stand, all the while keeping his sights on Day and holding a bottle of Henry Weinert's beer. That's a true hunter there, can kill a man and can still keep drinking his beer without losing a step. There was no evidence of the scope. Day had not seen it. If there was more moonlight out, then maybe he would have. Maybe he wouldn't have gotten stuck in the mud. Maybe he should have just kicked Steve's Twinkie ass out of the box truck and hightailed it to God knows where. But now he was fucked. So, fuck it, as they say. Let's go bowling. I mean, yeah, something to that effect. Dusty reached to the ground and walked ponderously towards Day. Now the gleam of the scope lens caught his eye in the light. Dusty quickly killed the Henrys and tossed the mostly empty bottle to his side. Come on, shitface, stated Dusty. You done fucked up. You best deal with it. Now march your ass that way, over yonder, he said, pointing to the garage laboratory with a gloved finger covered in faux forest brush. You know, I never liked you too much to begin with. Oh, shut up, Dusty. You hate everybody. Damn right I do. Now move your ass before I start putting more holes in it. Dusty commanded. He gestured with the end of the rifle towards the looming garage, wherein Day's fate ultimately lay.